Armenia, Gyumri, the city where George Gurdjieff was born. In those days, Gyumri was called Alexandropol, and it was very well known all over the Caucasus for its masters, musicians, and traditions. One of the traditions in Gyumri to host many guests. The guests in Armenia are generally treated as the messengers of the god. And this very house used to host hundreds of guests because this is the house of the childhood friend of George Gurdjieff, the prominent Armenian poet Avetik Isahakyan. And currently this house is also hosting thousands of tourists. And of course, it is going to host now the concert dedicated to Gurdjieff's music. And this time, this house is hosting the prominent Armenian pianist Haik Melikyan, who's getting prepared. Haik, I'm wishing you good luck. But by then, let me tell you about the heart of this house, or let's say the heart of any Armenian house, and that is tonir. Yes, a stove, as let's say a stone or ceramic stove in the ground. People used to bake here bread or even carry special marriage ceremonies for a number of young people. By the way, church was sometimes refusing them to carry that ceremony there for some reason. You can learn that when you come here. And right here, because this is the warmest place in the house, Avetik was born. And right here, Avetik and George used to play Can, a typical Gyumri game with the lamb bones hitting and knocking out the opponent's bone. Well, this is Gyumri, full of traditions, and this is the city of Gurdjieff. Now, about the tradition of dowry. Gyumri has even a special house of dowry, Ojititun. This was the present of Grigor Drampian, a prominent Gyumri merchant who gave as dowry this fantastic building to his daughter. After the wedding, the newlyweds decided to move here to live. But, the happy husband, Geram Terpetrosyan, who was the first mayor of Alexandropol, decided to open also the mayor's office right in the same building. Dowry, as a tradition, also is kind of an indicator because based on that, people judge about the family, the dignity and the honor. Generally, people put some linens, carpets, but the interesting part of the dowry is the doll. It's provided to the young wife so that the young wife shares her hardships with the doll. It's not the Gyumri style to take outside the home the problems. This is Gyumri, the city of traditions and the city of Gurdjieff. Now about the tradition of visiting the bathhouses, barnik. This was a whole ceremony. Women washed in the morning and they were spending about 6 hours because they're wrapping a bochcha full of fruit, gata, some halva, and they were using this as a very good reason to share the city gossip and of course to look for a potential bride for the son or the brother. How about the men of Gyumri? These guys were using 3 fayetans. One for themselves and the second one for musicians, and then the third one was for their head. Well, at the moment we can hear how the phaeton sounded back in time when Gyumri was called Alexandropol. Anyways, why the men were carrying a special phaeton for their head? Because the head was the symbol of dignity. And very frequently, those men were going to drink after the bath. And they were a bit afraid to drop the dignity, the head, and they decided to integrate the new tradition of putting the head into a separate phaeton. Well, there were worse cases when the men were sitting on their own heads. After the bath, they were all passing near this wonderful building. And what's the name of this building? It's Bari Luisi Tun. meaning the good morning house. I think this is the only house in the whole world which is named Good Morning House. And you know why? Because if you have a look at the facade, you will see the medallion, which reminds a mirror with the towel, which everyone starts the day with, the new morning, the good morning. So this is Gyumri, the city of traditions and the city of Gurdjieff.